ultimately decided to leave because I realized I needed an easier job.
No matter what I try to do, it won't go through their heads.
I called a parent today and I said, just to let you know, your child has an F in my class because they come in and they don't do anything. And then they start screaming. She hung up.
Buddy, why'd you struggle on this quiz? What was hard about it? What was difficult? And they look me dead in my eyes and they say, I'll be honest, I didn't read the passage. What do you mean you didn't read the passage?
School districts are trying to run like companies with the numbers, and it's not the science of education.
Today I walked out of my job. I did.
I have 2 hours left of my school day and I'm leaving because I'm so stressed out. The students' behavior, their lack of trying, their apathy for school, parents that don't give a shit.
I was getting so many questions after I had just explained my directions.
Take out your yellow notebooks, turn to page 14, and the kids just stare.
They're crying because they're getting blamed for literally any and everything that children are doing.
I spend 90% of my day managing kids.
Six years ago, I quit my job as a high school English teacher and never made it back to the classroom. And in hindsight, I think it was one of the best things that I ever did. It has been a stressful ride, but quitting that job truly made me see life and the world in a completely different way. I grew up in a super small town of like 2,000 people. The choices for what you could do in your life after high school basically meant be a nurse, be a teacher, or be a farmer of some sort. And I have nothing against the way that I grew up. However, I got into teaching, I just had this feeling every single day of like, is this really it? Like, is this really the way that I'm gonna be living my life every single day? There has to be like so much more out there for me to experience. Quitting that job has really forced me to be in this headspace of, we can always figure it out. There are so many different paths. There are so many different options. You can always decide at any moment that you want to do something different in your life. It does not matter what you went to school for. It does not matter where you came from. It does not matter where you currently live. Is there gonna be a little bit of struggle while you figure it out? Yeah, absolutely. Like, finances were really stressful for a really long time. One of the reasons I decided on teaching, although I was very passionate about it, it was because I knew exactly where my life was going to end up. I was going to go to college, I was going to become a teacher, and then I was going to teach, and that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I didn't even have to worry, I didn't even have to think about it. It's quite literally the opposite of where my life actually ended up going. At one point, I had my dream job as a teacher. It was the weirdest feeling to wake up every single day and realize it wasn't really my dream anymore. It wasn't a lifestyle I wanted to live anymore. And I had this overwhelming feeling of dread, waking up at 50 years old, looking back at my life and being like, I could have done something else. I could have done so much more. I could have gone out and found a different dream. So I don't know what the moral of the story is. I don't know if I'm necessarily in a very good place to be giving advice. I can tell you what I learned from that situation was you can always pivot. Nothing noble about staying in a life that you are unhappy in. Because at the end of the day, at the end of your life, you're gonna look back and realize that was the only one that you had. And I just refuse to live it unhappy.
Children are coming into preschool at 4 years of age, significantly more behind than they used to about 10 years ago. Not supposed to be some kind of clickbaity kind of piece, but it's the honest truth. The fact of the matter is we've got teachers leaving the profession. That does not exclude early childhood teachers and educators. I'm an early childhood teacher, I'm a preschool teacher, and I only work casually now. I can't actually work on a full-time basis. It's too hard, and I want to remain in the profession as long as I can, and it's the best way for me. But on this note, we're noticing children coming in at 4 years of age who can't handle being told no. They can't do basic things by themselves that require fine motor skills, like holding pencils properly, doing their bag zippers up, opening their bags, getting their lunch boxes, opening containers, those sorts of things. And within the realms of what we would expect, obviously we would normally be guiding them through that during the year, and that's fine. But we're just seeing an increase in the number of children that are coming in completely unable to do it. But also the other thing that is happening is that when they can't do it, they are completely losing it. And the emotional regulation around it is also something that the teachers have to manage, because they can't persevere with the challenge because it's all too hard. And I'm really putting it down to particular parenting styles that we're seeing. We have a lot of millennial and Gen X parents now, and we were brought up by boomers with very strict parenting, some questionable strategies, I would have to say. And we want to rectify that as parents ourselves. We don't want to do it that way. We want to do it the right way that actually builds confidence in our children and doesn't leave them needing therapy later on in life. But it's gone too far now. And I think that there has been a misunderstanding between what gentle parenting is and permissive parenting is. Because gentle parenting is still acknowledging that child's feelings, saying it's okay to be upset about it, but we're still not going to the shops, or you're not getting the lolly, and you're allowed to be upset about it. Where you still set very, very firm boundaries around it, but we're not punishing like we used to see back in the day. Whereas permissive parenting is more that just letting the child kind of do what they wish. And I think that there has been a confusion between what gentle parenting is and permissive parenting is. The other thing that I've also noticed, which I did mention in a video probably like a long time ago, that parenting is actually harder now too. It is so hard to parent in this current day and age, and I think parents are just dropping the ball, but now they're expecting the teachers to pick it up. I'd love to think that we're magical in some ways, but we're not that magical, and we don't have that much in us. So now we are seeing incredible teachers, and I've seen many leave. They can't do it anymore. And they are devastated by that because they want to be there. They want to help the kids and they want to be there to guide the children. But the system is it's not helping us. It's not providing support for us. So my question is, if you have a child that has not started preschool or kindergarten, you're not sure about what to expect they should be able to do, please tell me if I can provide that information on here, because I would be really, really happy to do that. And I would be really happy to provide ways in which you can support your children to be ready when they enter kindergarten or preschool. And this is not just relying on daycares. What can you do at home to support them? Because it is quite easy. You can put things in place, but we're going to lose teachers and we're going to keep losing teachers. We're going to keep losing childcare educators, and the people that will suffer will be the children.
So they have a lot of teachers saying they don't want to teach anymore. They quitting their job. They not coming back. Woot this, whatever the case may be. Another lady also said that she had been teaching for 16, 17 years. The children are not listening. They getting up, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what's going on with that, but let me also say this too. I'm going to speak for the parents. School is stressful for us too. When I totally understand if somebody quit their job and don't want to teach no more. I could only imagine what they're going through, because at home we are struggling too. My daughter loves school, and I promise you the homework stresses her out. She had homework Monday through Sunday, no plan. Some of this stuff we didn't even know. I'm not even embarrassed to say it. Like I told my husband, maybe we need to call somebody in or get her a tutor or something, because some of the things we don't know. We wasn't taught these lessons in school. Things change. I understand that somebody said they supposed to study the higher grade. If they're in the 4th, they're supposed to be studying the 5th. I don't know how true that is or whatever, but I totally understand. This has been a stressful school year, and we is tired. I'm ready for them to wrap it up. It feels like a pregnant woman when you almost at the finish line and we just dragging along. I'm tired. I'm tired. It wasn't a good school year. And I understand why these teachers are quitting their jobs. I understand the children, the stress, something just not right. Something is off about school. Okay, that's all I have to say. So I don't blame some of the teachers, baby. Do whatever was best for you. The lady was like, she just having panic attacks, blah, blah, blah. This. I could only admit, baby, as parents, we're going through it too. we are going through. I really feel like I'm sending my children somewhere to be abused. That's if you really want me to be honest. And that's two different schools. So I'm wishing the teachers the best, and I'm hoping that we as parents do something as well to where we don't have to feel as if it's heavy on us as well. Hugs and love. Y'all be blessed, J-Lo. Wow.
This is what we're doing to teachers. It is way worse than most people realize. And I already know what you're going to say in the comments. This teacher's this and this teacher's that. I've been a principal for 14 years. I know this teacher very well. She's a friend of mine. I've seen her teach. I've seen her work with kids. I've seen her do amazing things. I've also seen the struggle that she and every other teacher that I know is going through. We don't trust them anymore. And now I know what you're going to say. Well, we can't trust every teacher. That's true of any profession. But here's what I'm going to fight back on. The solution to having a few bad teachers can't be to not trust all the teachers. Most of the good teachers I know have either already quit or are thinking about it.
Here's another reason why teachers are quitting right now. There are no consequences for students. In the state that I teach in, we can't even legally give somebody a detention anymore. I mean, I've had students in the past that have used the N-word, have drawn swastikas and done like little Nazi salutes in class and stuff like that, and they don't do anything about that. It seems like the only thing that kids have any consequence for these days is if they do drugs at school, or they come to school under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or if they get in a fight. This is why teachers are quitting, because you can't punish them anymore, like legally. It's against the law. You can't give them detention. This is what we're dealing with.
I just resigned mid-year as a second-year teacher. The amount of harassment and bullying and the lack of administration support is disturbing. When you have a room full of students who watch your every move as a teacher and seem to have more authority than the adults because mom and dad work in the same district. This has been by far the most unprofessional work environment I've ever worked in. What I thought was supposed to be professional work environment turned into a hostile workplace where I was called abrasive for expecting the students to learn, allowing childish for not knowing an answer when approached by administration, accusing me of something that I did not do, and prideful when administration thought standing up for myself was the incorrect thing to do, when students went home telling things about me that were not true. And that's the scary part. That is the scary part. When a student says things about you that is not true and can ruin a teacher. What do you guys think?
A first grade little girl just slapped my third grade student, and when the line supervisors were disciplining her, she said, "Don't worry, my mom must come up here and take care of it." No wonder why teachers are quitting.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and this is my last day of being a teacher. I've been teaching for 17 years. I've taught 8 years in Missouri, 6 years in Arkansas, and the last 3 years here in California. And
teachers are leaving the profession in record numbers, and we need to talk about it.
I resigned from teaching with less than 60 days left of the school year.
I have 2 hours left of my school day, and I'm leaving because I'm so stressed out.
I am a first-year high school English teacher. This is definitely going to be my first and last year teaching.
I resigned this morning after 15 years in the same school.
This is my last day of being a teacher. I've been teaching for 17 years.
This has been my 5th and final year of being a teacher.
After 17 years of teaching, I resigned from my teaching position.
As somebody who was in the profession for 32 years, seeing these teachers who wanted to become teachers, who had their whole lives planned around being a teacher, seeing them feel that kind of distress and quitting and needing to leave the profession for their mental health, for their physical health, really hurts me. So let's look at some of the statistics. According to the Center for American Progress, about 44% of teachers leave within the first 5 years. Now, let's talk about why that's an issue. Anybody who's been a teacher knows those first 5 years, you're figuring it all out. I didn't really hit my stride until year 6. Year 10, I was off and running. So imagine having a revolving door of new teachers who never get a chance to hit their stride. They can be amazing teachers, they can be effective teachers, but there's something that happens after year 5, year 6, and especially after year 10, where you really understand your content and who you are as a teacher. But there's another statistic, because it's not just new teachers. Every year, roughly 8 to 10% of teachers walk away from the profession entirely. This isn't just a few people tapping out. These are veteran teachers. And in videos I've seen, they've been in the classroom 5, 17, 22, 25 years. And they are now saying, this is a profession that is not something that can be sustained long term, mentally, physically, or emotionally. And that is not normal.
So I have re-recorded this video a couple of times because I just realized that I don't know how to stop talking and keep things short and simple, and making 10-minute long videos is probably not the way to go on TikTok. So I'm just gonna keep it straight to the point. This video is about why I'm leaving the classroom, and I'm probably gonna have multiple parts to this. But problem number 1 is that there's simply too many kids. There's the ratio of kids to teachers is unimaginably insane. It's just, it doesn't work. My largest class is 38 kids. Now granted, that happens to also be my advanced class, which is good, so their behavior typically isn't off the charts, but you know, if one gets riled up, so did the rest of them. And this happened to me 2 years in a row. This is only my second year teaching. So the ratio is just, it doesn't make sense. And then there's not always the support that you need. And that's going to be my next point is, granted, everybody, because there's so many kids, everybody is just spread entirely too thin. So nobody can always give you the support that you feel like you need in that moment. And so a lot of times you're kind of stuck dealing with crappy behavior by yourself. And granted, you would think, oh, Shay, you come from a behavior management background. Wouldn't you, like, isn't this your bread and butter? No. Behavior technicians, BCBAs, RBTs, behavioral mental health technicians, like, they all work with kids one-on-one, and that's what I'm used to. Working with behavioral issues, fine. That is a walk in the park for me. That is not hard, actually, and it's actually quite enjoyable for me. But when I have to do that, and teach 35 other kids at one time, it becomes insane. Like, there is no way that you're accomplishing all those things. And then don't let it be a class of kids that see that you're young, see that you're not too far from their age. Now the respect for you kind of declines. And granted, some of you might say, okay, well then you just need to up your classroom management skills and X, Y, and Z, but that's way easier said than done. Because at the end of the day, you still want to build a relationship with those kids. You still want to be close to them. You still want them to trust you. And you can't, so in order to do that, you can't just be mean little Nancy laying down the law all the time and never connecting with them and never giving them space to talk to you and trust you. Because now, okay, yeah, you're teaching them, you're keeping the classroom organized, but they don't like you. And if they don't like you, then when they really need you, they're not going to come to you. And I don't like being that person that just has to be all about straightforward, what do we need to do, delivering orders every 5 minutes. Like, that's not who I am as a person. So it may work for somebody, but it didn't work for me. And this may be only my experience working in public school, because usually there's a higher population of kids in public schools, but I just don't see the situation being that much different for a private school either. But that's just my personal opinion and my thought. But yeah, additionally, the compensation to be a teacher. And I know that's a sensitive topic for a lot of people and we don't want to talk about it, but just like the ratio of kids to teachers in one room doesn't make sense to me, the pay for tasks to do to money given also doesn't make sense to me. Because as a teacher, you're doing so many jobs that are not your job. Like, as a teacher, I want to say I spent about maybe 30% of my day actually teaching. The other percents of my day is getting the kids to actually focus and listen. And by the time you do that, you have like 10 minutes to teach. And then on top of that, I spend so much time grading assignments and lesson planning to make, and then don't even get me started on the way you have to cater and differentiate lesson plans to 100. I have 117 students and I teach math. Not most kids don't like math. So now I have to find a way to make this math interesting for kids who don't like it, nor do they want to learn it, nor do they even want to be there half the time. So that's just, to me, an impossible task. Like, it's not impossible, but for me and the way I'm set up, it felt a little impossible, and I was definitely getting overwhelmed. Speaking of getting overwhelmed, I have anxiety. And it's not mild. I used to think it was mild until I started teaching and started having panic attacks in the classroom with kids present. That's not safe for anybody. Yeah, and then to them, kids don't really know what's going on. So to them, it's like, oh, we made Miss B mad. She just started crying. No, I feel like my heart is about to leave my chest cavity. And so then you have those situations, and then most people, like, it comes right back to the lack of support. It's like it'll just be shrugged off as, oh, this is just one of those days, yada yada yada. But no, this is not normal for me to be at work and so overwhelmed with the behavior of other people's kids to where I can't even function in my own body. It just doesn't make sense. And as a point, if I feel like at this point it's really taking a toll on me, and I've only been a teacher for 2 years. So imagine if I tried to be like some type of veteran teacher. So yeah, and there's like so many other things, but that's really just the gist of it. Yeah, I'll make a part 2 if you guys want me to list other things or inconveniences, or if you guys want me to make a video more so about the positives of teaching, I can do that too, because I don't want to just be so negative Nancy and only focus on the negative things, because there's positives about teaching too. It's just, for me, they don't outweigh.
So about a week ago, I was a substitute in a classroom where a group of boys were loudly and enthusiastically watching corn. I made a video about it last week, but I really have been ruminating on it because that situation really, all of the parts that were at play is a perfect microcosm of why education and teachers as a whole are struggling. First things first, I did not receive any support right away when it came to students doing this. Students loudly watching that in class was not seen as an immediate need for dean or admin attention or interference. It was not treated that way. I was not given support. 2, I don't think it would have happened if they had a male teacher as their substitute. 3, the fact that as an adult, as a professional, there isn't even a baseline level of respect given. I give all of my students absolutely that baseline level of respect. I completely understand that it takes trust and respect for a teacher to do their job successfully. We are not inherently given that, and that is okay. But the flip of that should not be, I get to treat this adult however I want with no repercussions. My heart breaks for the female students in that class period, because I'm sorry, the fact that a group of male students felt the gall to watch and talk about and scream loudly about explicit rated X content in class, subjecting their classmates that are minors to that, is a sign of the toxic ways that our young boys are growing up, and the lack of follow through for any of this. I tried to get follow up on, was there a meeting with parents? Can I contact somebody? All that happened was those boys had their phones taken away. They stayed in the classroom. They stayed in the classroom with me. So then after they get their phones taken away, guess who has to deal with being called a snitch for the next 30 minutes? Like, these are high school students. I should be able to walk into a class to help out and sub without without something this absolutely out of pocket happening. And I am like a full-time teacher. I teach full-time. Like, I'm at this school just with a different group of students. It's just so crazy.
So I went into teaching because I wanted kids who looked like me to have representation, especially in subjects like mine, like languages and etc., because it felt like it was like not for them. It was inaccessible to them. Like they just didn't need it, or like it would never benefit them. I also wanted to be that kind of teacher that I needed when I was growing up, and etc. Somebody that advocates for children, like amplifies their voices. You know what I mean? I'm always here for the marginalized, and I believe that children are marginalized. But it's becoming harder and harder and harder to stay in this job. Like, I just can't anymore. Like, I'm on E, I'm on empty. It's like you are being hit from all sides. You're being hit from parents complaining, kids don't give a toss. Like, today I literally broke down and I literally like cried out of like frustration and anger, because I was just like, yo, like, I'm asking you guys to the bare minimum. Kids like, can we just go now? And I'm like, yo, I want you to succeed. Why do I care more than you care? Why do I care more than your parents care? And then like the government is not setting you guys up for success. And it's just like, not every teacher cares about you. And the teachers that care about you are pushing you. You're just like looking at them like you're a zombie. Like, sorry, the kids have no sense of urgency nowadays. Like, they genuinely don't care about anything. And it's like, and I get it, it's the influence of like social media and etc. But it's just like, they can't see how things hold on, let me think I would say this. They can't see that not everything is a direct benefit. Like, some things is like, it's indirectly benefiting you, if that makes sense. Like, for example, let's take languages. Languages is a subject that actually amplifies your other subjects. That is like, it's very unique in a way that you kind of do every subject in one subject, right? You're able to relearn grammar. It helps set it helps like enhance a foundation that should already be there, right? You learn problem solving skills. You learn how to like, you know, memorize. You learn how to recall and things like that, and like basically cause your brain to think a little bit more, pattern recognition and etc. But because it's in some schools it's not a core subject, they're like, well, this is not going to benefit me when I'm older. Babe, the skills you learn now, you're going to need them later on. It may not necessarily be Spanish, but it'll be the skills that you have learned in this subject. It may be sociology, because yesterday I was having a conversation about a student that says, oh, sociology is just a filler subject. And I was like, no, you're going to look back and you're going to realize that, wow, I'm so glad it's sociology. And it's just like, no, I need parents to sit here and teach their kids the power of skill. Do you know what I mean? Not everything is explicit in your face. Some things we're just developing over time. It's about building curiosity. Kids don't know how to write creatively anymore. You can't tell a kid, you can't give them a prompt of, tell me about a really horrible day that you had. Kids will be like, but I've never had a bad day. But I haven't had a bad day. I don't know what to say. I've never been stuck in the rain. What if I don't use my phone? Like, kids, like, they can't think outside the box. And it's getting harder and harder because their parents are enabling them. Parents have given up or can't control them. And now we're getting the flack of it because it's just like, you're the bad person because you're making me do all these things that I've never had to do. You're the bad person. You're the one that's trying to make me disciplined when I just want to coast by. Like, but then SLT is telling you, no, you need to have high expectations of these kids, you need and you need to raise their standards, blah, blah, blah. But I'm working by myself here. Teachers get barely any support, mind you. And it's just like, and especially us teachers, I feel like we have higher standards, there's higher expectations of us to like perform. We get all the bad kids, like we get all these things because we like see them, we want to build a relationship with them, and it's just like that never gets taken into consideration. And it's just like they can't, like, teaching is a job where nobody gives a toss about the effort that you put in. Everybody just wants results. But it's like when the results aren't being given because people aren't putting in the work necessary, everyone points their fingers at you. So you're the bad guy in every situation. You try hard, you're the bad guy. You don't try hard, you're the bad guy. And it's just like, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? I got my degree, actually. I've been to university twice. Listen, I don't need this. I'm doing this for you. This benefits me in no way. Anyways, so that's my quick rant. Parents, do better. Sorry, do better, be better.
If a lot of parents want to understand and get a grasp on why you're starting to see a lot of teachers giving up on these teacher careers and teaching your kids every day, it's one of the reasons why right here.
6th grade daughter, 2 of her teachers just quit within the last 2 weeks. It's terrible. They have really good long-term subs, but there's just this kind of rotation of teachers that you see happening a lot, and it just comes down to pay.
I resigned from teaching with less than 60 days left of the school year, and here's how we got there. So 2 years ago, in 2024, I was teaching middle school science at a charter school, and the assistant principal I was working with there had moved on to a suburban school district and called me up and was like, hey, there's a special ed position here open. I think you'd be really good at it. You should apply. So I did, and got the job right then and there. And here we are in 2026, about a year and a half later, and I resigned. So, yeah. The reason I left the middle school teaching position was it was a charter school. There were a lot of issues with funding and just effective admin, things like that. A lot was left on the teachers' hands, and I was ready for a change. And that was my first teaching job ever. I was like, I'm young. I am certified in middle school education as well as pre-K through 12 special ed. Let me just try this. So I jumped in head first, middle of the school year in October. Didn't really know what I was doing. Met my teaching partner, who is now my boyfriend, and we live together, which is the best thing that could have come out of this. He left that job at the end of last school year. I stayed on this school year, and it just became unmanageable. So I taught emotional support, kindergarten through 3rd grade. My first year there, I started the year with 4 students, first and 2nd graders, and this year, after I resigned, I had 11 students, 7 of which were full-time, ranging from 1st grade to 3rd grade, and I couldn't handle it. Emotionally, mentally, physically, the paperwork was outrageous. Planning for 3 different grade levels in an emotional support classroom when they're on altered schedules, so they miss 2 hours of the school day as is, getting in everything on time, IEPs on time, meetings, and then still fulfilling my professional responsibilities throughout the day. I was just mentally, physically, and emotionally drained every single day. And my boyfriend will tell you, the person that he met was excited and bubbly and driven and hardworking and a go-getter and the person I am now is just a deflated version of that. And as you can see physically, I am worn out. So I thought that I should document this journey. I've never been in a position where I've been unemployed. I've been working since I was 14 years old. I'm almost 26 now, and I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what the next chapter looks like for me. And I figured I'd document it all, keep myself accountable, keep myself busy, keep myself motivated, and hopefully people have some helpful insight for me of how I can do this. My boyfriend is my rock. He's the most supportive person I think I could ever have imagined, and he is sticking right by me through all of this. So I just figured I'd document this journey and see where it takes me next, because I know what I'm capable of, I know what I have to offer, and what I'm willing to sacrifice and what I'm not. So it's just been exhausting. So I resigned on March 4th, 2026, and today is March 6th, 2026, and I am gonna start trying to figure out the rest of my life, the rest of our life. He's still working out of school full-time. He's also coaching lacrosse, so he's very busy at this time, so there's a lot of time for me to figure things out behind the scenes for us, what our next steps look like, what my next steps look like as far as employment, what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and kind of just find myself again. I think this last teaching position has kind of made me a shell of who I once was and who I thought I could be. And I've been seeing a lot of people transition out of the classroom, resign mid-year, kind of just make that leap to not sacrifice their entire self forever. So hopefully there's some people out there that either have a similar journey to me or have some helpful tips for me moving forward, because I don't really know what it looks like yet, and I think that's exciting and I think that's terrifying, but I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to be myself again. I'm ready to find joy in things again, and I'm ready to not have the Sunday scaries every single day and wake up Monday morning nearly vomiting with anxiety. And I know my boyfriend's ready for that too, because I think it takes a toll on everybody. Watching someone become a shell of who they once were. Because I know I was very successful teaching middle school. I was very successful teaching science. I was very successful in that environment, and I loved that job. I don't have any regrets leaving that job. I worked there for nearly 3 years, and I loved every second of it with those students. I loved every second of my job that I just resigned from, working with those students in that type of population. But at what cost? So here's to the next chapter. So I figured I'd just document day in and day out, and hopefully soon I'll look a little bit more alive because I think I look a hot mess right now. I think everyone's told me, like, what is going on with you? You look like you're somewhere else. So this is kind of going to be a journey of finding my next step, navigating this financially, navigating this career-wise, navigating this mental health-wise. I think that's most important. My boyfriend has told me that you need to work on you, find you again. I think that's been the toughest part, is losing myself in something that I love. So I'm not giving up on teaching. I'm not giving up on education. I'm not giving up on myself. Most importantly, this is going to be a really stressful chapter of my life, but I'm ready, and resigning was really hard. Walking away and giving up was really hard, but I know it was the best decision for me. And I'm ready to be myself again. So come along with me for this journey, because I've seen so many stories like this on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, of this exact same thing, so hopefully this will reach the right people. Help me, please, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm ready to smile again, and I'm ready to feel like I can take on the day again without crumbling. So stick with me. Here's to the rest of my life. So thanks.
Here's a little public service announcement. We are coming into summer, and so this is messages for like my teachers, but if you align and you understand, this is for you too. The teachers, we're coming to the end of the summer, and throughout the whole entire school year, maybe you were unhappy at the school that you were at, maybe you were unhappy in the profession, in the classroom, and you're like, you've been talking the whole entire time about, oh, this is my last year doing teaching, or this is my last year in the classroom. Sometimes we may not want to be in the classroom anymore, and we want to transition and do something else. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you what I have learned as a previous educator who has transitioned out of the classroom. I transitioned out of the classroom, and then I transitioned out of the whole entire school system. You have to say that out loud. You have to say it out loud. You have to acknowledge it. You have to write it down in your journal. Find you a journal, write it down in your journal. I no longer want to be in the school system because whatever your reason is. You are justified for feeling however you feel. Sometimes it's that you just need to be under a different administration or a different school. And if that is the case, read back on it, write it down, figure out what it is. Because sometimes it's not even about the actual, like you want to be out of education. Sometimes that school or that school district, it just doesn't align with you. So if that's the case, follow the next steps that I'm going to say. It's the same for everybody. Then you have to look at what you wrote and make a plan to get to whatever that level actually is. So for me, at first, I went through different things. So first it was like, I want to be outside of the classroom. So I actually wrote it down, made a plan, and then I started applying within my district for other jobs that were outside of the classroom. And so that was a transition into a literacy coach. So I was still like part-time literacy coaching for the school, part-time educating or being an educator in the classroom with actual students. And then I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. So when I did not like that, that is when I actually began making a plan to look for other positions and jobs outside of education. Okay. So just to be frank with y'all, I spent 8 to 10 years in education, and I transitioned out of education every 2 to 3 years, period. That was just me. That just worked for me. My burnout for education was every 2 years. So the first time that I pivoted, I was in education. I taught for 2 years at high school. I think I taught 9th grade. It was 9th grade English. I taught in 9th grade. Then I applied for other jobs, and I got a job with the government working at the VA hospital. So I worked at the VA hospital for 2 years. And then after that, I went back into education. I taught for 2 more years. Then I pivoted outside of the United States and went and taught in Abu Dhabi for 2 years. Then I came back to the States, and then I taught again, and I was like, still not for me. I transitioned into being a literacy coach for my school, and I was like, still not for me. Then I became a flight attendant. How I did all of this is basically I wrote it down, I made a plan, and the most important thing is that I took micro action. So all throughout the school year, I was applying to other jobs. I was working on my resume. I was working on my interviewing skills. So if you have a desire, y'all are at the end of the semester. Like it's over. And you may have the summer off. I need you to spend your summer planning your exit. Things are hard right now in terms of jobs that we have here in the United States. However, you can still map you out a plan and work your plan. So this summer, instead of just sleeping, watching TV, going to dinner and lunch with your friends, plan out your whole entire week so that each each day you are focusing on transitioning out of education in some type of capacity, if that's for you. Maybe it's just that you need to get into a different field in education. You need to be working on your plan. So again, take that micro action every single day. Stop talking about it, but be about it. Write it down. Acknowledge, these are my feelings. These are my real thoughts and my feelings. And then create a plan and then work your plan. Okay, I'm Benita. I am a flight attendant currently, from a flight attendant trainer. And I have flexed in all kind of different categories of life because I've bet on myself and I always took micro action. That's the reason why I'm able to live the life that of my hopes and dreams and to live with death. So if you desire to have or see or feel like you need more, sign up for coaching with me. So just comment DEAF, DEPTH, not DEAF, DEAF, but DEAF. And let's connect, let's talk, let's see how we can transition into something more different that fulfills your hopes, your dreams, and your desires. I love you. I mean it by giving all of my aviations people a hug. Mwah.
People are always asking me why I finally quit teaching, so let's get into some of the reasons. I wrote them down. Number 1, teachers do not get paid enough. We all know this. As a teacher with no spouse, no kids, and with 2 degrees, honestly, I made a decent amount of money for myself. But when you factor in all the things you do as a teacher, all the time and work you put in as a teacher, the money just does not add up. I was not getting paid for working on weekends. I was not getting paid for parents calling me before school hours and after hours. I was not getting paid for all the days I had to stay late and all the days I had to come early. I was not getting paid for going home every day and literally having to mentally decompress and sit in silence because of the crazy day I had. I was just not getting paid enough for that. Number 2, I loved kids. I love kids. But honestly, I hated being a role model. I got very tired of worrying about the shit that I posted on social media, worrying about the things I did outside of work and how that affected my career as a teacher. People will really act like teachers are not supposed to have any lives outside of being a teacher. But again, they didn't pay me enough for that shit. Number 3, I started teaching in 2015. A lot has changed in education since then. They want you to be soft with kids. They want to let kids run the school. They don't want you giving any harsh consequences, and that shit didn't work for me. I have a very strict and elitist viewpoint and philosophy about school. School is not the place to fuck around. There needs to be discipline in schools, and honestly, a lot of schools have moved away from discipline. I'm all for positive reinforcement. I'm all for incentivizing students, but I'm also for making a kid right. I will not disrespect my teacher until their hand feels like they're gonna break. I'm also for locking a kid out of the classroom if he or she is distracting everyone else from learning. And a lot of schools and systems and districts don't let you do shit like that anymore. They let the kids do whatever the fuck they want without any real consequences. I couldn't get jiggy with that. Finally, probably the real reason that I finally said I'm done with this shit is just the fact that I moved to LA. Living in LA showed me that there was so much more out there for me than being in a fucking school from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. My friends had cool jobs. I was getting invited to cool parties. I was rubbing elbows with celebrities. I was looking at the fucking Hollywood sign from my school, and I was just like, there's no way this job that is draining me mentally, physically, emotionally is what I'm meant to be doing. And so in the 2024 school year, I had some teaching certifications and they were expiring that year. And I could have easily just taken the test and got my certifications back, but I took that as a sign to make my exit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see what else is out there for me. And honestly, I've never been happier.
This is so true and such a contribution to the frustration and exhaustion teachers are feeling, because once everything becomes the teacher's responsibility, right? Once it's our job to manage every type of behavior, not just talking about, a student talking back to you when you ask them to get back on track, not talking about a student having their head down during a test and you wanting them to get their head up or having their phone out, talking hoodies, dress code, vaping, all of those things that should be managed by other people, or student hallway behavior that should be managed by other people. But all of those behaviors, once you've decided, the deans and the administration has decided those are all the teacher's responsibility. And then when teachers actually try to, write a referral or document behavior or take it to a level where there's a parent meeting, guess who's MIA? The deans and the admin. Guess who notice? The students. So nothing ends up meaning anything. Because at that point, what ends up happening is a student behavior will escalate in a classroom. Maybe a student's vaping and I ask them, I need to take that. And they say no, F you. Well, what I should do is reach out to get support. A dean should come support me in the classroom. But the odds of, I know because of the patterns I've witnessed, the odds of them actually showing up and supporting is maybe 1 in 50. And that'll just serve to escalate the student's behavior. If I say, well, then I'm gonna go get a dean to support, and that student knows no one's coming. So I have to decide in that moment, okay, well, I'm not gonna ask for any outside support because it's just gonna escalate the situation and make my life harder. I'll make sure to follow up about this with the deans after class is over. You follow up, the deans do nothing, just another day. Just another way to waste teachers' time and make us the be-all, end-all of anything that goes on in the school.
Number one, the reason why you keep losing employees is because you're not showing them proper classroom management. When a teacher is in a classroom for the children and they don't have proper classroom management, that builds frustration, it gets overwhelming, and they don't want to do the job. Without proper classroom management, it increases behaviors. It just causes chaos within the whole classroom. So not teaching them proper classroom management or having any sense of direction will cause a person to leave. Number two, throwing children with severe special needs in there. I had a video about this and I'll keep saying it. Children with severe special needs don't need to be in daycare because it's just not equipped for them. They have limited resources. They, a lot of the times, cannot just mingle with the other children without harming them or harming themselves. And it's just a disaster waiting to happen. And number three, you don't give them a day off. Each worker should at least have a day off every month. If I was running a daycare, I would give my worker a day off. Everybody gets a day off at least one time every month with pay. Why can't you do that? That shows much appreciation. So those are my 2 cents, and I used to work at a daycare, so I know. I
just quit my teaching job. Last month, on my baby's first birthday, I quit my job. And this will be my last year teaching 3rd grade. When I tell you, it has been my dream to be a teacher for as long as I can remember. I'm equal parts heartbroken, but so excited. I cannot believe I'm doing this. But I just felt like I needed to get it off my chest. I've been so emotional about it to the point where I can't even talk about it because I cry. I'm to the point now where it's okay, I quit my job. What am I doing? What's funny is every single person that has come up to me and has said anything to me about it, the thing that I've heard the most is, you will never regret this. Which is so reassuring to hear because every day I'm can't believe I did this. What have I done? So yeah, we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna be painting, gonna still be teaching, but in a different way, I guess. I don't really know exactly what's gonna happen, but I do know I'm gonna have more time with my family. And that's what I'm most excited about. Said I wasn't gonna be dramatic. Okay. Ugh. So if you've ever wanted to know what teachers do after they quit their jobs, I'm your girl. Let's see what happens together.
I am just done. I'm done as of today. I have made myself sick all this school year to the point of throwing up, panic attacks, high anxiety, not sleeping, hurting everywhere, and I finally chose myself over this job. I have loved being a teacher for probably about 16 of those 17 years, but I'm not going to make it to the end of this year. Sometimes you get in a situation so toxic that you have to decide whether your health or staying for the kids is worth it. And I decided about 2 weeks ago that it's not anymore. So today is my last day as a teacher.
So if you're a fellow high school teacher, I need to know if you are also experiencing this in the classroom. And I think it is one of the big issues that I'm starting to see with kids and school just in general right now. But earlier this week, we were, just normal day. And today that day specifically for the lesson, we were doing guided notes along with an interactive assignment simultaneously. All right, so a couple slides of notes, and then we'd go to the assignment. And the assignment was over the battles of World War I. So maybe it was a website or a video that I would play in front of the class real quick. And they'd literally just have like 4 or 5 questions for that particular section. And I would give them like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes on a timer to complete those questions. And then we were going to talk about them as a class, answer them as a class, call on people to answer them. And I had multiple students that when it came to the assignment part, they just didn't do it. And I would ask them, like, why are you not doing it? And they're like, well, I don't understand it. I was like, okay, what don't you understand? And they're like, I don't know where to find the answers. I was like, well, did you click on the website? And they're like, oh. And then they click on the website and then they start scrolling and they're like, this is too much. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, it's too much reading. I'm not going to do it. What? And then I would call on students and they're like, I don't know. I didn't do it. I didn't answer the questions. Like, they don't care. Like, when I was in high school, if I got called on and I didn't do the assignment or the questions, I was like embarrassed. But kids almost think it's like cool to not do it. Like, they're just like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to. I don't care. I cannot be the only teacher that is experiencing this.
What's happened in the schools today? I've been teaching now for a while. I'm a 36-year veteran now. I went ahead and went back to the classroom, of which I love. I love teaching school. But one of the things I've really noticed that really bothers me is there's no honor among the students. They would rather lie to you. They would rather disrupt you. They would rather act silly in the sense of not wanting to listen, not wanting to take notes, not wanting to. They'd rather talk about nonsense. The conversations about, what happened over the weekend, who broke up with who, why all of that is so much more important than listening to authority. Listening to someone that is trying to have their best interest at heart. But it doesn't seem to matter. You come home at night as a teacher and you ponder these things and you think, have I making any difference at all? What am I doing now? How am I making the difference I thought I would make when the majority of the class won't even be quiet for more than 5 minutes without getting chewed out? Then you realize that when you do take them to the office, the principalship and the administration have changed so much. They're not hard line like they used to be. I take a kid to the office. He's usually back in my room within 5 minutes. And I've dealt with that, and I come to peace with it. But I come home at night thinking, what have I done? What is it that causes students to be so dishonorable? That they choose not to listen. They choose not to make.
And I've seen it become such a problem lately. Is, let's say I give out a quiz to my kids, and there's a passage or something they have to read on said quiz. And the questions are about the thing that they have to read. So the answers are in the passage. They take the quiz. They don't do great. I feel like I failed as a teacher. I feel bad. So I sit down with them. Buddy, why'd you struggle on this quiz? What was hard about it? What was difficult? What'd you find hard to understand? And they look me dead in my eyes and they say, I'll be honest, I didn't read the passage. What do you mean you didn't read the passage? That's step one. And they're like, well, I read the first paragraph and it was really long, so I didn't read the rest. Oh my gosh, just read it. And they're like, yeah, but it's a lot. But you're gonna fail if you don't. Yeah, but I'll be okay. Like it's just a regular grade. I'm trying to give it to you. Just read the passage. That's my new pet peeve this year. Is kids just like won't read it and they'll just guess on the questions and then they go, whoops, I failed. That's what they do. I don't understand. I don't get it. So parents, teachers, we gotta get the kids to read the passage, answer the questions, get a good grade. Mind blowing.
I quit teaching. This has been my 5th and final year of being a teacher. If you follow me on TikTok, you probably noticed that I have not posted in a couple months. I haven't posted since February. I have been kind of checked out and mentally and emotionally done with this job. I'm leaving, and it wasn't a decision that I have taken lightly. This is a decision that I have been thinking about all year. This year has been extremely challenging for me. I'm not sure if, for those of you who are not in education, are aware of what's happening in schools, but it's not easy. I don't think people truly understand what teachers are going through. Lots of children are not told no at home, which makes my job extremely difficult when it comes to having them hold accountability for their actions and their mistakes and following directions and keeping their hands to themselves. This year, I have been cursed at by both students and parents. I have been hit, punched repeatedly. And what hurts the most is the lack of support from the families when you are telling them and explaining what their child did. Instead of asking you, are you okay? Or my child did what? They ask you, well, what did you do to make them upset? Or are there cameras in the room? The behaviors that I have had to put up with this year are behaviors that I have never experienced as a teacher so far. I have cried so much, more than I have, like with all my teaching of years combined. I feel like I have taken off so many days from my mental health because I have not been able to mentally or physically bring myself to school. Education is not in a good place right now. It's really bad. I have so many stories that I could talk about that I will be posting later, but it's time to go. It's time to go. Again, this was not an easy decision, but I do feel that it is necessary for myself and my own mental health. And it does break my heart that I am walking away for something that I went to school with and had so much passion for, but that passion is gone. I parent more than I do teach.
Y'all, I just can't do it anymore. I can't. I guess for the first time, I'm just beat. I feel defeated. I've been in this 6th grade classroom, it's elementary,
since January 7th. I was scheduled through tomorrow. I'm not showing up tomorrow. I can't. These kids are a challenge. The lesson plans, they suck. So that plays into the behaviors, but it has challenged me so much. And no matter what I try to do, it won't go through their heads. I don't know what to do. They need someone else to come in here because the teacher is supposed to be gone through the end of the year. They need to figure something out. Over the last like 2.5 weeks, I've had 3 or 4 different teachers come in here, talk to them, crash out on them. The assistant principal, the counselor, the principal, like sending kids to the office, just everything that we can do in our power to try to rein them in, they just refuse. They're in a weird time right now because the lesson plans, like I said, they're not very good. There's a lot of free time. I've had to try and find things for them to do, but all I ask from them is stay in your seats, do your work, keep the volume at an appropriate level, and we're good. We're good. They can't even do that. They're up, running around the room, not doing their work. They refuse to do their work. I have students where they literally will not work. No matter what I do, what I say, who I get, they will not work. All they want to do is get on the computer and play games, play Geometry Dash. And I refuse to let them do that. Oh, you're done? Here, go do this packet. Like, go write your times tables. Like, because they try to speed through their work just so they can get on the computer and play games. No, not around here. But today has been my absolute breaking point. And the teachers that came in to try to assist me, get them under control, they were like, you shouldn't even show up tomorrow. And I'm not, because it's ridiculous. I'm a damn good teacher. I know I am. I get praised by people that have walked into my classroom and have shadowed me. And teachers, I'm frequently requested. I have teachers texting me every single day, please come in, the kids love you, you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. It's something with this generation of kids, the apathy. They don't want to do any work. None. Literally none. And they're always trying to get out of it. They're always trying to manipulate you and the situation, and it blows my mind. When I was in school, not to, back in my day, but I'm 27 years old, so not extremely far removed from school. When we were in school, we wouldn't dare act like this. But today was my breaking point. I've spent the past 2.5 weeks with these kids. We have grown a bond. Do they annoy me? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I still love them. I still care about them. I try to walk in every day with, it's a new day mindset. Some days it's been really hard to come back and not just cancel outright. But today is one of my students' last days. He's moving schools. And so out of the goodness of my heart, I decided to go and get cupcakes for the kids, and I wanted to turn on like a video at the end of the day. Just have them have a break from the constant packets and paperwork. And, we have, like I said, the lesson plans are rough. We have the time to do this. And I just wanted to do something nice. I let them know this at the beginning of the day. I said, please don't mess it up. My last day is tomorrow. Let's have a good last few days. I've already had to become super strict. I feel like such a mean teacher. I feel so bad with what I've had to do, but they've brought me to this point. I just feel like I'm failing, but I know it's not me. Sorry, I'm a huge empath. It just gets me. So I asked him, please, let's just have a good last couple days, and they can't even do that. I caught 3 kids cheating. I'm having headphones fly across the room. I had a glue explosion.
I quit teaching about a month ago, so let's talk about all of the feelings that came along with that while I feed my baby. Thought of leaving teaching always gave me such a pit, seemed so scary. Constantly was asking myself, what else could I even possibly do? Teaching is literally all I've ever known. Knew that teaching wasn't good on my nervous system in general. Every time someone I knew or I would see someone on social media that they were leaving teaching, literally would get the panicked, almost jealous feeling. I would think to myself like, oh, they're so lucky. I wish I was brave like that. I wish I could do it. I had Charlie. That completely changed to why couldn't I do that? I used to feel like, oh, I'm just gonna be throwing away my degree. I'm gonna get my teaching license taken away from me. Everyone's gonna hate me. May have disappointed some people, and I love my students so much. I just came to the decision that I needed to do this for myself and for my family. I've been on maternity leave and haven't been inside of a classroom in 4 months. Physical symptoms of stress that I used to experience on a daily basis are completely gone. Literally had a permanent eye twitch. The other day I was like, my eye hasn't twitched in a while. I had insomnia. My hair fell out more when I was teaching 6th grade than 4 months after having a baby. I never want to be someone that advocates for teachers to leave the profession. I know we need good teachers. I will always love teaching. Teaching just wasn't good for me. Maybe I'll go back one day. But if you can relate to any of the things that I said in this video, I just want you to know that making that decision is kind of like ripping off a band-aid. I talked about it a lot in therapy over the years. I remember my therapist telling me people who do brave things aren't absolved from experiencing fear. And that always resonated with me, especially when I would see people announce that they were leaving the teaching profession and I would think, oh wow, they're so brave. I wish I could do that. Like, you can. Doesn't mean that it won't be scary, but you can totally do it. A whole new sense of freedom on the other side of making that decision. Yeah.
I left teaching for a corporate job and it changed my life for the better. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Kelsey Marks. I'm the Director of Career Transformations here at Educated Exit. And to date, our organization has worked with over 20,000 educators on their journey out of education and into new careers. I myself am a former preschool teacher and former school counselor who left the profession for a corporate job, and my life also became so much better. As someone who meets and speaks with hundreds of educators, many of which who have left the profession, I can tell you that this is not a unique experience. The educators that I've personally worked with here at Educated Exit have had outcomes after leaving education like coming off anti-anxiety and antidepressant meds, conceiving a child, having better intimate relationships with their spouse, calling off their divorce, having better relationships with their children. You name it, all across the spectrum, teachers have incredible outcomes after leaving the profession, which is so sad on so many levels. Anyone who works in the public K-12 setting, you understand that the mental, physical, emotional toll of this job is crazy. And that's not just throughout the academic year, that's every single day. There's so much that teachers have to worry about, so many responsibilities, so many things put on their plate that really are not even a teacher's job. And when you exit that environment and you have the opportunity to decompress, recalibrate your nervous system, and really reflect, there are things that you're going to see and your insights you're going to gain that you otherwise would not have while in the education system. Like I said, it is sad. It is sad that teachers have to leave the education profession in order to get that great quality of life back. But this is kind of where we're at right now with education, and many educators are making that decision to leave in order to get their quality of life back. For more honest conversations about leaving education, remember to like and follow.